Hello, my name is Ben Peterson. I'm the Executive Director of the City County Planning Commission. I just wanted to take you through the update process as it's time to update our Focus 2030 Comprehensive Plan. We've had the plan for about 10 years now enacted, and it's got a 20-year life cycle. So it's kind of half time, so we need to update that plan. So I just wanted to let you know how you can participate in this update process and what resources are available as we go through this together as a community. So on to the update process. So this is Session 1, Part 1. We're just going to introduce the update process, kind of how we're going to start off looking at the process. It'll all be subject to change as we figure out what works and what doesn't work. But we'll move in general timeline and format. So our timeline will generally be from November 21 through November 2022 or until adoption. We'll do this as long as it takes and go as quickly or slowly as the process warrants. But in general, we're going to review and discuss each of the sections once a month. And again, if we have to take longer, we will. We will have special meetings for the small cities and possibly focal point areas and corridor studies if desired or warranted. And then we have a plan session format which is kind of outlined on our website. We'll show you that in just a minute. But of course, again, this is all subject to change. But in general, we'll have a recorded video presentation prior to each meeting. And then we'll have a meeting to review presentation contents and have, of course, staff comments. But then we also plan on having a discussion panel to answer some general questions about each section. And then, of course, we'll have public input and comments, question and answer session. Idea being we'll have more of a formal panel discussion, semi-formal, I guess, panel discussion, and then conclude with wide open public comments, questions and answers. And we plan on staying as long as it takes to get to all of those. Additionally, once you view the videos and want to submit questions to our office for either the panel to consider or for us to address at the appropriate session, there will be opportunity to do that as well. So our process objectives is generally just to review the contents of the existing plan, just to re-educate ourselves on what's in the plan, what the plan is, what it says. So really just about education. Look at the vision. What are we trying to achieve as a community? What does the plan say the vision is for our community? Making sure that's still something appropriate that we want. And then we look at the individual chapters or elements of the plan. We'll look at the goals and objectives and action items for each of those elements or chapters. And those are in place to support the vision and to achieve the vision of the community. So we'll look at those individual things as we go along. Of course, it's to get input. We just nothing else. I need to update it. Update statistics and trends. Update ideas. See if those have changed. What has changed since the adoption of the plan? What has changed as we've went through the first half of the plan? And then, of course, that'll ultimately lead to any updates or needs or action items that we need to focus on, make any necessary amendments to the plan. We do believe that there won't be any major changes to the goals and objectives of the vision. If there are, and we find that out, we might want to consider as a community doing a whole new plan. Probably not quite ready for that yet, but we do need to look at any amendments or adjustments that need to be made. Mostly we feel like that'll be in the future land use map, adjusting to the focus areas, growth areas, small cities, a lot happening in Smiths Grove, of course a lot happening in Bowling Green and in the urbanized areas of the county. So we'll look at those areas and see what we need to do, if anything, there. So the last 10 concepts, so where are we at? Again, it's halftime. So the original plan was adopted in 2012. It started in 2008, so it took 4 years to get that plan passed and adopted. So we're less than 10 years away on a 20-year plan. So it's kind of half time. So we're looking at making those half-time adjustments. So we're going to review that first half, analyze, see where we're at, evaluate where we stand, and then update the community assessment, which is basically that statistics and data and trends. We'll look at our action items, what's been completed, what's in progress, what's no longer necessary, what do we need to focus on, what do we need to do. So we're really looking at where do we go from here. Consider revised goals, objectives of our action items. We'll look at our small area plans or focal point plans and infrastructure corridors. Where's growth happened? Where do we need to make any necessary desired future land use map adjustments? And then update plan elements based on more recent plans that have been adopted. For example, housing study was recently completed for the county that has some items in that. Strategic plans by various agencies that have been completed and adopted. So we'll take a look at those and make sure we're mirroring some of those items as well. So just in general, the three basic tools of the Planning Commission are the comprehensive plan, the zoning ordinance, and the subdivision regulations. The comprehensive plan is kind of the guidebook, the general blueprint of how we would like to see our growth happen over the next 20 to 30 years, how we would like to grow. There's not really any hard and fast rules, but the plan does have goals, objectives, and action items that should be followed in order to achieve the community's vision. Those are very important. Those are considered in every zone change, every land use decision that comes through planning and zoning and then forwarded on to the legislative bodies. So again, those goals, objectives, and action items, those items that we call out in the comprehensive plan, are what those decisions should be based on. Then we have the zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations. Those aren't guides. Those are actually the laws. They're the adopted ordinances or laws by all the local legislative bodies that are put in place in order to achieve the vision set out in that comprehensive plan. So if you think of this as a funnel, the comprehensive plan sits at the top. That's the goal we're trying to achieve. Then you funnel down to the zoning ordinance and then finally the subdivision regulations, which gets into specifics. So the zoning ordinance provides specific development minimums regarding development patterns, use of the land, things such as density and intensity of the use of the land, the setbacks of buildings, the heights, the bulk, the scale of the buildings, how those fit in with its surroundings, including things like signage, parking minimums, those types of things, and then overall lot coverage, drainage, those types of deals. Then the subdivision regulations provide specific requirements for the subdivision and development of land. So this would be how a land can be divided. So if you have a parcel and you want to put it into a subdivision of 100 lots, how can those be arranged? What's the layout of those particular parcels? But also, even if you're doing a plat that's just taking one lot and put it into two, or taking two lots and put it into one. So that's where all those regulations reside. And then specific development of the land, including construction items such as sinkhole remediation, road thicknesses and widths based on the amount of traffic that is expected on those road connections to existing roads, those specific construction requirements. So all of those regulations, again, are put in place in order to achieve the items set out in the comprehensive plan. So session resources, we have several resources available, mostly all aggregated into our main resource, I guess, which will be our website. It's at warrenpc.org/comp plan update. We will take a look at that here in just a second. But the main resources we're going to have for this part 2 of session 1 will be of course, the current comprehensive plan. We'll be looking at the vision, the guiding principles, and the goals and objectives in general, and making sure those still meet what we desire as a community. and kind of set this pace for the rest of our comprehensive plan review. The 2012 comprehensive plan video is mostly focused on the future land use mapping portion of the element of the plan, but that is a good thing to watch. We will be reviewing some of the themes out of that. And then we also have guides that have been created. We have a Citizen's Guide to Planning and Zoning in Bowling Green that was created in conjunction or by the Kentuckians for the Commonwealth in conjunction with our office, but it's a very good summary of a lot of the processes and basically planning theory and things of that nature that will give you better insight into what our office does. And then a little deeper dive into some of those items is the Planning Commission Handbook. We use that for our orientation of our planning commissioners, but that has several items in it as well that'll give you a deeper dive. So with that, we'll move on and look at what the website itself contains. So let's take a look at what will be our main resource during this process, which will be on our website. It'll be warrenpc.org/comp plan update. So first you'll just get a simple description of what we're doing, why we're doing it, but then also here we want to make an easy to access resources page. So think of this as the overall resources, and then each session will have their own resources as well. So the carousel will scroll through each of the options. So if we just go to informational guides and documents, which will be a very good help throughout this process and just understanding the planning and zoning processes in general in Warren County and Bowling Green and the small cities. The first one is a People's Guide to Planning in Bowling Green, Kentucky. You can read through the different descriptions of what they are, but this is probably the best and briefest description of how our office operates and how the zone change process works and why. Planning Commission Handbook was staff created. It's what we use as an orientation guidebook for our new planning commissioners, but it also contains a more in-depth detail and overview of planning and zoning, as well as our processes. It also includes the Citizen's Guide to Future Land Use Mapping, but we have broke that out into its own separate document, so you don't have to scroll through the whole handbook to get to that. This will be a good resource in understanding the future land use map, and when we get to that particular session later on in the update process, which is projected to be several months away still. The job of the planning commissioner, it provides some good insight into a nationwide view of how planning decisions are made, talking about the big picture and how the comprehensive plan fits into that. The Kentucky Revised Statutes is the governing framework, the state laws, if you will, that provide the framework for all planning and zoning in Kentucky. The Planning Commission Joint Agreement provides the framework locally, what the Warren County and the 5 cities in Warren County have agreed to as far as planning and zoning, who votes on what type of application, how the Planning Commission agency is governed, and the Planning Commission makeup. The bylaws goes further in depth about membership, officers, how meetings are handled, those types of things. And then, of course, the zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations will go over briefly, more in depth in a later video. So we'll go back to the first page. I'll just finish the look here. The general session format, we've outlined that there, how this process will work. Frequently asked questions about the overall process and how input will be used to make changes or provide the end product. We have contact options, so this is where you would go if you want to contact us about a question or submit a question about one of the sessions or a comprehensive plan or anything in general. You can reach us at either our phone number, or of course our general email. You could also go to About and go to Staff and get an individual staff member if you wish as well. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. We'll be posting updates about that here. We do have our YouTube channel. All the videos will be posted to the YouTube channel, same place we put our Planning Commission meetings. And then Constant Contact, if you just want an easy way to sign up for updates. This particular sign up is only for the Comprehensive Plan updates. We just need your email for sure. You can give us the rest of the information if you want, and then just hit sign up, and then you will be automatically placed into our email list that will be sent out notifying of updates if you prefer that. This section here is just simply the timeline, the general timeline we're going to try to follow, subject to change obviously as we figure out what works and what doesn't, but ideally we'll follow this general format if we can. And then each session page will have its own information as well concerning that session. For example, this video is part of Part 1, Session 1. Then Part 2, Session 2 will go over more specifically the vision, guiding principles, goals, and objectives. Idea is you're able to watch these videos on your own time to be ready for then the public input session, or submit us questions that we can try to address during that session, and ultimately we'll post that here. Discussion panel format, again, you can find out who we have planned for the discussion panel, and then any questions we have that we're specifically going to ask for the panel. So as a member of the public, or just in general, if you wanted to submit a question for us to consider adding or for the discussion panel to address concerning the subject matter for that session, we will put that there and we'll try to answer those questions. Again, any questions or answers or comments we'll document here in this section, and then we have resources specific to each section. So that's generally the oversight of the web resource layout and how we are going to use that for this process. So let's review some of the themes that we find in the 2012 video created when the comprehensive plan, or just before the comprehensive plan was adopted. I think those ideas and themes are still relevant today as we consider the big picture moving forward. So we are growing and changing. I think we all understand that. Anyone who's lived or been in Bowling Green for a few days to weeks to months realizes all the traffic we have, all of the construction we have. So we are growing and changing, and very quickly. We'll look at some statistics from 2008 as well as the new 2020 census data in the community assessment session 2. That will go over some of the trends and statistics for our community. In general, the plan is a guide, it's a strategy, it's a framework. As we mentioned before, it's not necessarily the regulations, so it's what we strive for. It tries to represent a balance of land uses, ideas, and desires. So everyone has probably a little different version of their idea and desire for the community or a particular part of the community. So it tries to balance those interests. It emphasizes connections and relationships between the elements of the plan. So you look at the different elements of the plan, transportation, land use, housing and neighborhoods. What are the connections and relationships between all of those elements of the plans? So that is what the comprehensive plans do, is tie all of those things together and get that overall balance of interest, which then represents the vision that we have for our community. So growth and development are happening. We continue to experience record planning and permitting years, especially over the past 5 years. We've continued to see record numbers of single-family lots, record numbers of apartments, record numbers of businesses and industry, and it just keeps snowballing from there. But most of it was planned for, if not most all of it. Infrastructure which is mostly sewer related, but is largely in place or has been expanded into areas. Some areas the plan didn't necessarily anticipate. So were we really ready for this? Does the community understand what that really means? So we will look at some of that as we proceed forward too. And I think those are all fair questions for us to consider as we move through this process. Continuing on with the major themes in the 2012 video. So the question is no longer if we want growth or not. We know we've got it. So the question is how to make sure the growth has an appropriate context, which speaks to the compatibility. Are we growing in the manner that complements our community? So the quality and character of growth matters. Beyond the location and public service, what is the character of this growth? Not just where we grow, but how we grow. How do we build quality places, neighborhoods, and business districts, and not just ordinary subdivisions and developments? How do we make Bowling Green, and how do we make sure the future of Bowling Green still be Bowling Green in Warren County? And of course, not forgetting Plum Springs, Oakland, Smiths Grove, and Woodburn as well. How are those unique places maintain their character and quality of life also? So how do we address our corridors, gateways, neighborhoods, and centers? And that's the ultimate question the comprehensive plan tries to illustrate that vision and make sure the land use decisions we make enhance that character or build upon character rather than maybe replace it, or if it is replaced with something better. So that's it in general. So what's next? Again, Session 1 Part 2 video will follow this video shortly. There we'll start getting into more of the meat of what the actual plan says. So start with a review of the direction, the vision, and the guiding principles, which will give you the resources for that and that Session 1 section of our website. If you click on Session 1 in the timeline, it will take you there. We'll have a review of the implementation chapter or element of the plan, where it calls out specific action items. Now we'll say that some of that was not updated by the time the plan got adopted in 2012, so there's some things leftover items in that chapter that were no longer relevant, so there'll be some changes there, but we will go through all of that. And then culminating, once we've all done our homework and watched the videos, we'll culminate into a discussion forum. We hope to have a discussion panel on the vision and general direction for the update, which would include the elected officials of all 6 legislative bodies in our community, and then ask them some specific questions. We will post those initial questions on that Session 1 section of our website, but also if the public, any member of the public, has some questions that were relevant to this section that we would like to you would like to have an answer to, we're going to try to answer all of those as well. Maybe not necessarily in the forum, though we will try, but certainly will in some way or form address those. So please submit those questions to us through the website, or call us, or however you wish to do that. And then at the end of that discussion session, we will have public input time, public question and answer session at the meeting, to where you can ask questions, and we will address those and stay as long as we can to do that. So the resources that we'll have for this Session 2 is, of course, these videos that we're recording, but then also we'll have the resources specifically will be the vision and guiding principles, and then the implementation evaluation will be the two main resources we will use in the next video. So that's what's upcoming. So I hope to hear from you all soon, and that's pretty much our process.